Who can make the leap from 30-1 odds to the Super Bowl the same way the San Francisco 49ers just did? It's Golic and Wingo, Will Cain filling in. I'm going to give you 3 teams. I'll give them to you in descending order. You tell me what you think of each one, and I think you'll see a common theme here. So, first of all, at number 3, I think the Indianapolis Colts are somebody to look at. I look at teams, and a couple of weeks ago on the Will Cain Show, I said, what was the Niners' formula? They were about middle of the pack last year on defense. They're a completely dominant defense this year. What were they the year before? They were like 13, 14, 15 in yards per game allowed, in points allowed. They took a leap. I don't think many teams leap from bottom of the league in defense to the top, but you can go, as you point out, Junior, with a guy like Derwin James out with the Chargers, from middle of the pack to top of the league. So I like a defense that can make that leap. And do you have a good offensive line? The Colts check both of those boxes. They're somebody that I could think potentially make that leap next year.
All right.
They're 11th in total defense, so yeah, they're up near close to the top 10.
And as you mentioned, the Colts to me remind me the most of like 2016 Cowboys offensive line when things come together there and you realize because of that foundation, you're able to do a lot everywhere else. There are a few skill position guys away from probably being a very serious contender. And they're probably going to upgrade at quarterback.
That's a good – probably are. Mac, you like what Mac did last year at running back in that O-line, no questions for sure. That's a good one.
All right, so that's 3.
That's number 3. Okay. Number 2 is going to have a similar problem to the Colts, and that is who's playing quarterback. I don't think, Senior, you're going to like this one as much. It is the Las Vegas Raiders. I think they have a good coach. I think that's a team building with young talent. They still have draft picks to build around. They're not as good on defense. They don't fit my criteria as well. I don't think they can make the defensive leap, but if they can bring a quarterback in, like perhaps the greatest of all time, like Tom Brady, I think the Raiders are one that can make this kind of leap.
Oh, so now we're creeping into Tom Brady sweepstakes area here.
Oh boy.
Yeah, you know the Raiders are an interesting one. They grossly outpaced what we all thought they were going to do last year, right? We figure, all right, you got John Gruden there. You're basically just moving towards the move itself, but hot start, tailed off at the end, understandable.
I don't see this one at all. not at
you
all.
You hate this one, and you did from the start. Why do you hate the Raiders next year?
The Raiders have no weapons outside of Jacobs. The offensive line was great. Then it went down. Now it's come back up a little bit. But remember, we were talking about them a few years ago, Mike. They and the Dallas Cowboys had like the 2 best O-lines. But they definitely took a big drop and starting to come back. Their leading receiver last year was their tight end. And the next closest was 41 receptions behind that. They have no wide receiver.
Please don't slander Hunter Renfrow like that.
Oh, okay.
He deserves.
By the way, if we're looking for landing spots for Brady, from Welker to Edelman to Hunter Renfrow, please. It's over.
Hunter Renfrow is the only guy on that team as old as Tom Brady.
If Tom Brady wants to look for a team that's different from the Patriots that has a great shot at being in the Super Bowl, then by all means go to the Raiders and have no shot at it because he won't. They just don't have enough. For him to throw to around there, and the defense isn't good enough to pick up the slack. So
you're right about the defense. That's my big concern.
I would have put
the
Colts way ahead of because you're right. You're putting the Raiders ahead of the Colts. I would put the Colts ahead of the Raiders
because I think it's more likely that Brady ends up with the Raiders than the Colts. We might see Phillip Rivers perhaps with the Indianapolis Colts. The question is who can go from 4-12 or 30-1 Super Bowl odds to the Super Bowl the same way the San Francisco 49ers did. The Raiders were 30-1 odds or are 30-1 odds this year, although they were 7-9 by the end of the season. My number 1 team to make that leap, though, would be, yes, the Los Angeles Chargers. That is a mid-level defense that was suffered from injuries this year, as you point out, Junior, in Derwin James. Can they re-sign their weapons? That's the big question. The offensive line, also not as bad as you think. If you look at Pro Football Focus, I think both on run blocking and pass protection, they were mid-level, middle of the pack in the NFL. So what is the real weakness? It's a question. Who's going to play quarterback? And once again, it's a name that keeps coming up again and again. Is that where Tom Brady ends up? I like the Chargers the best to make that 49ers leap.
Oh man, this is twice now.
I
don't know what it is this morning.
Too busy with your hips not lying or something.
I say it's the sex thing that's going on. But
seriously,
yeah, it's
your mother's listening to the show.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, no, I would say I'm with you. I'm with you on the Chargers. I think, again, all of the talent around there that's been building for a while. Again, the same thing I talked about with the Chiefs. When you've got what looks like a group that's been primed for this in a while, and you seem to be missing that one piece. And we watched Phillip Rivers hit more of a cliff than I expected from him. He had been a guy that for so long we did the thing where we would use him as the foil to Eli Manning and say this is someone who's been a better quarterback over that span of time. But because we've watched him age hard at the end, I think that came up a little more. So I'm with you on the Chargers.
I would agree too. And if I don't think Tom Brady is leaving, I think if the Tom Brady is still all about the Super Bowls and getting there, I think New England is his best shot to have Bill get him, kind of rebuild the weapons there and help in that O-line. But if he were to go somewhere, this would be the team to go to with that defense, those rush ends, Derwin James on the back end there, the weapons on the offensive side of the ball. He's used to having that back you can count on, and Melvin Gordon, who after his mistaken holdout. And why am I blanking on the other running back who had a hell of a year for
Austin
them?
Eckler, yeah.
Eckler, did a fantastic job. Only problem is they're in Chiefs division. They lost to the Chiefs twice last year.
As are the Raiders, and that's a problem.
Those are tough ones, but I do think that would be the team, and it's amazing we're talking about that being the team because we have no clue who the quarterback is going to be.
You know what? Can I throw one more at you guys just because I look at this team and they hit basically all the parallels from because remember, the Niners the year before had 7 turnovers on defense. It was this wild statistical anomaly. Their quarterback gets hurt, they go 4-12. There was a team last year that went 3-12-1, who had a bad injury at quarterback, who had 7 turnovers on defense. That's the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford was playing some of the best ball we had seen from him in a while before he got hurt last season, like a little bit of MVP buzz kind of ball last year before we saw that go. They've got Darius Slay. I know they traded Quandre Diggs inexplicably in the middle of that season, but they've started to build. The question I have there is coaching. I don't know if I trust Matt Patricia yet as a head coach, as a leader of men, as someone who can take that in the direction you want to go, but they've invested in their offensive line a bunch over the last year. There's first rounders all over the place in that group. Wide receiver, we know they've got some weapons there. Stafford's a quarterback that I think if he gets back to playing that level could have the similar bump to Jimmy Garoppolo coming back to a bed.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube, and for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app, and for premium content plus live streaming, make sure to subscribe to ESPN Player.